Timelyart here. This video will be about how to create alerts in TradingView automatically using Kairos. Kairos provides an example file with an alert, so we will open that first. We will go to our installation directory and to the YAML subdirectory. There you'll find an example with Davo, named after Da Vinci J, who came up with the setup first. So let's rename it. Remove the underscore so we don't accidentally override it when there's a Kairos update. And let's open that. First we need to provide a URL for the chart. So I've already prepared that. It's the same chart I used in the other instruction videos as well. Copy the last part, paste it in here. Before I continue, it's good to know that most of the values you find here, like from the URL part all down to the summary part, most of the values here are like one-on-one copies of what is being used in TradingView itself. So for example, if you look at the time frames, you can give a list of time frames here, but the 1 day it actually comes from the options you see here. So you can put in all these options, you can put in under the time frames, and of course you can define multiple time frames. So if I want to do like maybe I don't know, like 6 hours as well, I can just put in 6 hours like this, and then what will happen is Kairos will run twice, once for the daily time frame and once for the 6 hourly time frame. So let's remove the 6 hours again because the daily is fine for me. As the watch list, I think I will be using, let's see what kind of watch list we have. Let's see. I guess I will use the Kairos screener example we made in an earlier instruction video. Let's see. It says quite a few markets, but so let's put in Kairos screener example. If you have difficulties running Kairos, or you see a lot of errors, especially like timeout exceptions, you can set up delays. These delays, which you can list here, basically are also defined in your Kairos.cfg. So let's open the Kairos.cfg so we can compare a little. So if you go down, you will see here a section with delays, and basically you can put these. So these are like the general delays which Kairos would use like by default, and if you define those delays here, then the delays in the YAML file will override the values used in the configuration file in the Kairos.cfg. So these delays, which you can list here in YAML files, they're optional. In fact, I would say that you probably shouldn't use them. If you have a script or you have a multi-chart layout with a lot of charts and it takes a long time to load, then you might want to deviate from the values listed in your configuration file. That's really the only reason why I would use them. So for the purpose of this video, we're just going to delete them. Now before I move on, I will and get into the heart of this video, I will remove everything in the summary and also this part, the WebDriver part. We don't need it for the purpose of this video. I will explain this of course in another instruction video. So for now, let's remove it. Let's save in between by pressing Ctrl S. Now we can use alerts like in the regular way, like you can create alerts like you normally would for a limited number of symbols. Just you can do it now in a automated way. So if you need to like create, I don't know, 20 alerts each morning every day, it gets pretty tedious after a while. So you can use Kairos to do that. But more interesting than that is to use Kairos to scan, for example, 1,000 symbols and signal you which symbols have a particular setup going. So in this video I will showcase the latter option, and we'll be using the DAVO indicator. First off, I want to make a DAVO long signal. So there's already an aptly name here. You can use any sort of name. It's primarily used for communication purposes, so you know what kind of signal you're actually looking at when it comes to you. So Kairos works by going to the first chart it finds on a layout and look at the indicator and create an alert from that. So even though you can use multi-chart layouts, and if you want to do so, you should put this on yes. But I highly recommend, also for the speed of processing all the symbols, to use a single chart layout. But if you really want to, you can use a multi-chart layout. Just make sure that the indicator you want to use for your alert is on the first chart on the layout. So now the fun starts, where we actually get to create the alert. Creating alerts in YAML files for Kairos is the same as you would create an alert for TradingView. Well, basically the same. So I will show this by creating an alert manually, and then we can compare. So let's remove the watch list, get a little bit of real estate, and create an alert. Now if you look at the left hand side, you'll see the conditions defined here. These are basically the conditions which Kairos will use to fill in all these select boxes. You need to put in the values in order, so from left to right, from top to bottom. So in this case, if I want to create this manually, I would go to DAVO. Notice that there's a new version of the DAVO indicator, version 3.5.4. It fixed an issue with creating signals, actually creating alerts. So thank you very much, John, for pointing that out to me. I also put in dynamic Fibonacci levels, but yeah, I'm not too happy about it. So use with caution, I would say. Now, since I made this example file here, I've kind of renamed some of the values. So we will be using DAVO long confirmed. So I need to make sure that it's not going to be DAVO long, but DAVO long confirmed. And it's no longer called an alert, but just DAVO long confirmed. So let's remove this as well, DAVO long confirmed. Right. Now, although you can set up other options than only once, generally when you want to scan whole markets, you only want the signal to occur once. I will explain why later. But just so you know, if you would like to do once per bar close, for example, you can just put in once per bar close here, and Kairos will select that option for you when it creates the alert. Now, when I started to think about scanning the crypto markets for signals, I could not solve the problem of having only a limited number of alerts. So even though I had an old Pro Plus plan on TradingView with a limit of 1,000 server-side alerts, I soon realized that I wouldn't be able to scan for multiple trade setups. I simply didn't have enough.
Mr. B, I have a plan to solve the problem.
That cunning plan came to me in the middle of the night. when I had the insight that I should stop creating alerts of trade setups that would trigger in the future, and instead I should try to create alerts of trade setups that had already happened. More specifically, trade setups that had happened on the previous close. Now, what this does is that when Kairos creates an alert, the trade setup either has fired on the previous close and the alert gets triggered, or the setup didn't fire and we can remove the alert. By setting a short expiration time, alerts become quickly inactive and we can use TradingView to remove inactive alerts, thereby gaining precious slots to create more alerts. Basically, we are recycling server-side alert slots. However, there are still limits. Setting alerts on TradingView is pretty slow. An alert can take up to 5 minutes before it gets processed by TradingView. This is why I recommend to set an expiration time of 5 minutes. So for what we are trying to do here, we will leave the expiration on the default value of 5 minutes. You can put in open-ended, but that would be just like counterproductive. Next up is the alert actions. First off, this is really important, there's show pop-up. Even though you can set this to yes and it will check the checkbox, you don't want to use this when you use Kairos. And the reason is that the pop-up can get in the way of Kairos, and Kairos won't be able to find elements or buttons which happen to hide under the pop-up. So always make sure that this is set to no. The other alert action options, I've grouped them between sound and scent. If you want to set a different sound, you can go to more actions, go to sound, and here you can either choose a different ringtone or different duration. If you want a different ringtone or different duration, just set the exact value. So if I want to have like, I don't know, like calling, I will just put in calling here. And if I want to have a duration of 5 seconds, I can put in 5 seconds, just like this. Just make sure that it corresponds with one of the values that is actually an option. Alright, so I don't like sounds, whatever, so I never put them on. What I always do is set email to yes. I like to get my signals in my mailbox, also just so that I have them for future reference. And this is also mention worthy, is that if you want to create summaries, you need to have email on. The way how Kairos will create summaries is by reading your mailbox. Kairos does not have a database. It doesn't store data. The only data it has, it's the one you provide in YAML files and in your Kairos configuration file. So Kairos is dependent on TradingView alerts in your mailbox. So if you want to have summaries, then you need to have this email option set to yes. Now summaries isn't a part of this video, so as far as this video is concerned, you can ignore what I just said, but just know that in the future you might want to come back to this option and set it to yes. So we're almost done. Only need to address the message. You should basically leave this as is, and you'll see here that there are some keywords used here. I mean, you can put in text here, you can put in whatever you want, but Kairos will use these keywords to generate the summaries. So again, if you want to have summaries later on, it's best to leave this untouched. It will make sure that you will get all the data in your summary, because Kairos needs to know what time frame it was, the symbol, the chart, the link to a screenshot, maybe some generated info as well. If you use different systems, maybe like 3 commas or auto view or quick alerts or any other of those kind of systems, maybe you can set up some kind of text here which will be recognized by these systems. So that would be one reason to change this, but otherwise just leave it as is. Alright, so we're done. So let's save it by pressing Ctrl S. We can also close off this. We don't need this anymore. In fact, I will just completely close it off. And let's open the command prompt. CMD, right click, run as administrator as always. Let's go to the Kairos installation directory. And let's run the YAML file. Now when I press enter, Kairos will start on my other screen. So I will need to drag it over to this screen. I also won't show the login procedure, and before continuing I will also a little bit put this onto the side, so, and I actually have like, this is my mailbox, so all my TradingView alerts will come in, so you can see in real time alerts coming in. And also you will see on the background, you will see that they are actually created on Chrome as well. So let me just make this a little bit smaller. So you have, yeah, it's pretty small, but I'm sure you will see the gist of it. Alright, so now when I press enter, Kairos will start Chrome on my second screen. So I need to move it over. I also won't show the login procedure. It is 400 markets, so it will take some time. It takes an hour. So I probably will cut it, or I will do it in a faster space. But in any case, you should see all kinds of stuff happening here. Alerts should be coming in here, and on the background you will see Kairos create the alerts in TradingView. Now I actually ran it, but I noticed, and I got this confirmed with another user of Kairos as well, is that sometimes the alerts don't get triggered within a 5-minute time window. So I've upped the time to 30 minutes. I tested this and it's really shocking to me, but sometimes a alert gets triggered within a few minutes, like I am used to, but it also took, some of the alerts took as long as 23 minutes to fire. I don't know what is up with TradingView about this. It may be that it is because I was recording on a Sunday night. It's now Monday morning, so hopefully it will work better this time around. But just bear in mind that TradingView has issues, I would say, with when alerts get triggered. So you might need to have a time window of 30 minutes, even though like 5 minutes or even 2 minutes would be better, of course. So if you have issues that alerts don't get triggered when they should, yeah, you need to up this time window. There's nothing I can do about it. This is 100% a TradingView issue. So just be cognizant about that. Alright, let's open the windows again. I will move the command prompt to the top left corner. Like this. Okay. And let's hit it. So the run of Kairos is done. Let's see what the results are. So we you will get a little summary at the end saying the amount of alerts, in this case 401. Says something about the duration, so it took a little over an hour, and the average process time is how long it took per symbol to process it. Alright, let's close this, and let's maximize this. As you can see, Kairos generated quite a few signals, 25 in total. The way how I have set it up is I will run Kairos each night at midnight UTC time, and when I wake up in the morning I have my inbox full of alerts, and I will just go through all these alerts. So instead of going through 400 markets, I just go through, in this case, 25 markets. I will take not all of these setups, because some of the assets, they are listed twice for each exchange, right? So but this is much more convenient than just going manually through all the markets. Alright, let's close this window. Now I want to say one more thing, or mention one more thing. We made a YAML file with one alert basically, but say I also want to do the DAVO short. So in addition to the DAVO long, I also want to do a DAVO short. You can define it, just copy it, copy the DAVO long in this case, and add it below. Now we need to make it to a short signal. So let's see, this has to be short, and this has to be short, and we just leave the rest as is. And now I'll save it, Ctrl S, and now it will, if I run it, it will run both the long signal and the short signal. Now obviously this will create more alerts, and it will take longer to process as a result of it. When it comes to Kairos, there's not really a limit on how many alerts you can generate in this way, in this fashion. The limitations are really on the TradingView side. Because of these limitations, I would say that you probably want a premium account. Also because Kairos, it will run your account on TradingView. So a premium account will let you have 5 devices, or up to 5 devices simultaneously to log in onto TradingView. If you don't have a premium account, basically what will happen is when Kairos runs, you can't get into TradingView. So I would say that even though you can run Kairos without a premium account, like on maybe a Pro account or a Pro Plus account, I would still highly recommend to get a premium account, so you can run Kairos and not have to worry that you can't get into the TradingView anymore. If you do decide to log in into TradingView while Kairos is running and you only have one device, or you are only allowed to have one device login, then Kairos will break. There will be pop-ups on Kairos saying that you have reached your account limits or your device limits, and Kairos will basically exit at that point. One more other thing is, although it's quite fun to watch Kairos run in the foreground, after a while it gets pretty boring, and in fact it gets in the way. So there is a way to run Kairos in the background. There's an option in the Kairos configuration file. Let me see, let me find it. It's here. It's run in the background, which you can find under the section WebDriver. You can put this on true, which is probably what you want to do. but you can also define it in the YAML itself. And to do so, we go to just append it on the end. I've already got it in my memory, so I will just paste it. So basically, you want to have a WebDriver, and it has to be on the beginning of the line, WebDriver, and then run in background, and you can set this on yes or no. So this will override your setting in the Kairos configuration file. So when I will run Kairos right now, it will run in the background, so there will be no Chrome browser pop up, and I can continue my desktop work, which is pretty awesome. This concludes the instruction video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.